Jim. Good to see you.
Good to see you,
Thanks
Joe.
for coming to our show.
Thank you.
And I've just been influenced by seeing your brand, International Surf Properties. And the first time I thought, I go, oh my God, this man's living the dream, because we all dream about surfing, right? Being able to make money, figuring out how to kind of figure that dream out. So why not sell people properties internationally? So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
And tell me a little bit about how that initiated.
Sure. Well, I grew up in a real estate family. My grandfather was a real estate. My dad came down here to sell real estate in San Clemente in the early days. And I said, I'll never be in real estate because, so I went off to be an oceanographer,
Okay.
Then the math got in the way. So I nixed that. I think it was 94. I just got the wild hair. I've been doing the power ski jet board, the motorized surfboard, which you remember, which you rode, Joseph. And then I was coming out of that career, which was sales and marketing. And it's like, I just got this wild hair to start to do real estate.
Incredible. Just out of the
out of the blue. It's like, and I go, well, my dad's still alive, right?
Okay.
And so he
had a mentor.
I had a mentor. And he could introduce me to all the boys that are still working Nigel Shores and all those things.
But let me ask you this question, because in my life, I've seen somewhere in concrete the name Habig.
Sure.
Who's that? Is that your dad?
That's my uncle.
Your uncle.
So
because
Don G. Habig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, because you know me, I'm always like running stairs or different things, and I'm looking down and I'm seeing these concrete things going, Habig, and I'm thinking, didn't I grow up with a Habig? You know what I mean? And then it turns out it's your uncle. Okay, cool.
A few Habigs.
So you've got, there's quite a few. So you've got the uncle you got the guy that's in the real estate, but you got the guy that's a builder.
So this is the way it worked.
Pretty amazing.
So my dad came down and he was headhunted to sell Presidential Heights, Broadmoor Homes, it was called back then. And then he told his brother, come down, man. There's a lot of business here to pour concrete, to build things, this, that. So my uncle ended up pouring the Dana Point Harbor, San Clemente High School, Marco Forster Junior High. So growing up, everywhere I went, I'd say, hey, it's Jim Habig. It's like, I just saw you in the concrete over here.
Yeah, I know.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. That's cool. I've always wanted to ask you that. And every time I'm with you, I forget to ask. So
and it's funny. It's like I'll go to the weirdest place and say my last name, and they'll say, I know you.
Or you know of you.
Yeah, I know of you. And then they'll come back to, yeah, I got your stamp in my driveway.
So then you kind of had this idea.
Okay.
So then how did it go from idea phase? Like where did you sell your first property?
Sure. Well, so I was doing real estate in San Clemente, born and raised here, and I felt like, hey, Jim Habig, realtor. At some point, it just became too much. And I'm like, so I started thinking, how can we get creative here? And I love surfing, and I figured, well, is there a market for just focusing on surf properties? We have them here in San Clemente and Dana Point, wherever,
Totally.
And so I put out the idea, made 2 calls, and I ended up talking to Walter Hoffman. And he said, I got my East Cape property in Zacatitos. I'd love for you to do it. I think it's a great idea. So he was my first listing. So I'm like, because it's so easy, right? I got Walter Hoffman's house.
Okay.
And then we got.
And how long ago was that?
So this would have been 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, and end of 2016, 2017.
So I want to say a good solid 8 years ago.
8 years ago, yeah.
Cool.
We incorporated 8 years ago.
Okay.
Just got my notice.
And there's a we?
There's a we, yeah. So I had started dating a girl, met her at the brokerage. She was in real estate.
Okay.
She wore these pencil thin skirts, or whatever they call those, and it's like immediately there was an attraction. So we started dating. We're both in real estate, and that's when the idea came. Would you want to do this? And she goes, sure, let's do it. That's your passion. Let's shoot towards that.
Cool.
And then, so I got Walter Hoffman, got Flippy Hoffman's house, and then a guy here in town, Josh Host. He has the House of Trestles.
Oh, right down here.
Yeah, right here, right next to your house. And
yeah.
so he calls me up, and now we've got a dozen.
It's
properties.
a hostel.
It's a hostel.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. House of Trestles.
House of
hostel,
Trestles,
right?
yeah.
So he calls me up, and we had just listed our first resort in El Salvador, the Mazada Point Surf Resort.
Okay.
Introduced to a guy in San Diego that built it, living down there, had an El Salvadoran wife and this and that. So I'd flown down there, done some great footage, and I was like, this is amazing. I get to sell this resort. And I thought it was so rad because there was nobody really surfing this point break. So not only do you get
my
to own a
God.
hotel,
Mesada?
but yeah, Mesada
Yeah.
Point, right? And
Oh
so
my
not only
God.
do you sell this hotel, but there's
sir.
3 guys out on a right-hand point break.
Bummer.
I'm going, this is the dream. So
I feel your pain, by the way.
yeah, it was terrible.
Oh my God, it's
but
terrible.
no, you know what I mean? I saw things kind of lining up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like going, I could not have scripted this better.
And I think also economically at the time, we were in a good place. I feel like it was before the pandemic and it was before a lot of, whatever. But it was just kind of things were, decent,
It was
right?
pennies on the dollar.
In Mesada?
In Mesada, El Salvador was so cheap. You wouldn't believe.
Crazy.
What is now going for $500,000-$600,000 was going for $100,000 to $200,000.
Yeah.
So that's what.
Yeah.
That's what.
But that was
5-6
also
years.
back then. You had to be a little more ballsy to go to El Salvador
did.
because
Oh,
it
yeah.
was, it was a rogue country compared to now, where they're trying to emulate the Costa Rica model, from what I understand. Right?
It changed.
They've changed a
Well,
lot.
he went full Richter.
tilt,
He built a 1 million person jail.
Yes.
And he put
put
800
them all in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and then also, aren't they all backed by crypto?
they're backed by crypto.
It's
So this
such
is
a-
pre.
what
So
a
we
classic.
sold this resort pre-crypto,
Pre-crypto.
pre this president.
Okay.
Right, and so so we get the listing. I'm in love with my own listing. I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. I wanna
Is
buy
this
it.
your second listing?
No, this isn't my second. It's
Okay,
probably
it's,
it's in the first dozen.
Okay.
But it's our first.
It's
But
part
it's
of
our
the
first
initial dozen.
It's our first surf
First
resort.
resort.
Surf resort.
After a few homes.
Yeah, we got homes.
And then
We
all of a
got
sudden we
lots.
go,
Yeah.
hotels, resorts. Come on.
Hey, well, let's do it. Bring it.
Yeah.
But
champagne and caviar.
like I
Come on.
said, I'm sitting on this property with the owner, and he's going, oh yeah, here's the wave. He's talking about the tides. He's talking about the waves. I'm going, oh, this is great. How often do you surf? And he goes, I don't surf. But he goes, but I've been here for like 15 years.
And he
goes,
doesn't
I
surf?
Did not surf, but I knew that. He boogie boarded on occasion, but he described it better than a
bummer for
surfer
him.
could do it. Yeah, exactly. Great for us.
Wow. Wow.
But
so
you know what I'm saying.
That resort sold.
Okay, so here's the story about that resort. I get a call from Josh Host, House of Trestles here, and he goes, hey, Jim, I see all these great properties on your site. He goes, I want to meet with you. So I come down, he goes, which one's your best one? And I loved this. It was
Mesada?
well built by a guy in California.
A
built
Mesada
in
one?
the Mesada.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So it's called
Well
the
built.
Mesada Point Surf Resort.
Okay.
Right, and so I liked it, the structure. I got a real good sense of the quality that was put into the
Quality construction.
at a quality wave. So those two together. So I showed him like 6 different listings, but I said that is the one. I think we were asking like $625 for it.
For the whole thing?
For the whole
How
thing.
many rooms?
It was
If you
20
remember,
rooms.
20 rooms
Yeah,
for $625.
20
Come on.
rooms with
Well built,
more
probably
land.
had a
Oh,
concrete,
solid,
yeah.
yeah.
Concrete
You know,
block, the whole thing.
Yeah, concrete block, had a pool. You looked out at the this bitchin' cliff that came down into this
6 and a
right-hand
quarter.
point break.
What would that be worth today?
Oh, it's probably 2.5, 3 million, just location.
Yeah.
And so this buyer, so we go down there, we fly down there together, we got a great surf session, immediately go into negotiations, worked out a price, and then the place next door comes up for sale. So he buys that one.
Your buyer?
My
Instead of
buyer.
buying Mesada?
Yeah, my buyer. No, he buys them both. So he first buys Mesada Point Surf Resort.
He's got some money.
And he's got some money, but he was good at leveraging his money,
sure.
like
He
we
knew how
should
to do
all
it,
do,
yeah.
right? And so he gets 2 of them together, and then on that first trip, and then we did a second trip, he goes, I want to do tree houses right here.
Sick.
And he did them. So he built them. I think they were finished about a year ago. So he's got tree houses in between the 2 resorts.
People love tree houses. No, I'm with him 100%. I
Oh.
wonder what the budget was per tree house.
We can
It'd
find
be
out.
interesting to find out. Just
Yeah.
I've always liked
Yeah, yeah.
that. I've lived in tree houses. I got a Tarzan background, so it's kind of like I dig that whole.
That's right. You can swing right
You
down
swing-
to the break.
Totally, dude. Let me ask you this: the difference in the lifestyle and the vibe and everything, say early on, 8 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
in El Salvador compared to today. What was it? Obviously less crowded then. But was it a little more sketchy in terms? We know like Dave Harris moved there forever ago, right? He doesn't live on that point, but he lives at a La Libertad,
Yeah, he's
right?
got a lot of Libertad.
Yeah,
I
so-
talked to him on those trips.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is, I always understood, and like I've heard stories from different people who were like in there heading down to Costa Rica and getting chased out of the country. Like, I've heard some pretty scandalous stories about that country. But so it was more virgin as a surfer, but probably a little more harrowing.
Absolutely.
But then now, is it fair to say it feels safer?
Well, let's talk about it then. So literally, we'd go out and go have a beer somewhere and down in Sunzal or Tunco or something like that, and he'd say there wasn't a lot of gangsters, the MS-13 on the beach, but they were there. You know, they're always scoping this, that, but they tried to keep them out of the tourist areas. So that was cool.
Okay.
But he goes, okay, we're going to go in this bar. Watch. You'll know the MS-13 guys because they're going to have their hat a little skew.
Damn.
And sure enough, like, there's one. Hey, there's one. You
They
know,
wear a hat.
they wear a hat.
that
And so
brazen.
that was like their thing. So they know each other, whatever. So that was just what I was told. Right?
Well, they wear red bandanas or blue bandanas here. So yeah.
Exactly. So anyways, so they were there. And they hadn't cleaned it up like they did, you know, a few years later. So everything felt a little sketchier. But once again, when you focus just on the waves, you didn't feel too much.
Yeah,
you know,
because you weren't going out to bars and
we're not going to, you know, if you once again, if you put yourself in situations that can put you in front, put you in front of the gangsters, they're in the strip joints.
Sure.
If you're looking for the little baggie, then you might run into
You're
them.
gonna
Yeah, exactly. We know.
But the question I have is, did you feel that feeling of like, even if you weren't going to those places, that there was kind of a feeling of like, yeah, man, this is a little, you know, I went to Haiti in 1977, gnarliest country I've ever been.
Right.
Just being there made me feel, wow, this is primal voodoo. This is a voodoo. I felt voodoo vibe. I actually went to an authentic voodoo ceremony in Haiti. But what I'm saying is just the feeling of being there made me really aware of like my mortality. I was like, whoa, at any moment, it just felt criminal. It was just gnarly.
It's a dark force.
Very dark force there, yeah. So then as a result of that, some of the travels I've made in my life always have that as the comparative. You know, I recently got back from a trip to Tanzania, and it was peaceful. They're not, but you know,
But there's a little of that element.
No, I mean, we just didn't know. So we go there, we did the research. It seemed, you know, like it was going to be a friendly place. I go there, and we go there, and I'm going with a California girl, you know, and I feel that feeling of like, like when I first moved to Hawaii and I had my white girlfriend. And it was like a lot of guys,
a little
like
vibe, coming.
Well, they're looking at your girl,
sure.
You know. But it's one thing, you're still in America and still kind of primitive or whatever. But now I'm in Africa, I'm on the other side of the world. It's just me, and I'm gonna have a bunch of who knows what kind of, you know, Spock and what am I gonna have to deal with as a protector, right? But it was actually really nice. No one was tripping. I mean, nothing that made me get jumpy. So with that said, I think in terms of like El Salvador, I think, well, wow, you know, that's it's known to be a pretty rugged place. I mean, even Costa Rica has its crime, right? It's thought of as like, oh, Costa Rica, but you know, when you really know, there's Colombian gangs there.
I
mean, there's stuff going on there, you know, yeah.
I've got stories.
So in El Salvador, I've always thought, you know, that's one of the more rugged, off the beaten track back then, where you might feel a little bit like, oh, okay, but like you say, if you're just surfing and living a healthy, safe life, you're probably good. But now, is it more crowded? Is it more? I mean, it's obviously more expensive.
It's more expensive. I mean, like I said, I think prices have tripled in El Salvador. I mean, to me, that was your go-to if you didn't want to spend too much money. But then you had to deal with your gangsters.
The element, yeah. Like, I mean, they have CT contests there now.
Exactly.
That'd help.
So yeah, La Libertad.
Jeez.
Yeah, I remember I was on the point, and here come the pros and this, that, and you didn't feel about anything worried about there being any kind of crime.
Let me ask you this question, getting away from El Salvador. What about, of all the places you've sold properties, where was the most surprising, like, wow, new, you know, so I know you guys have involvement in like Similu and some different places in different parts of Indo, and, you know, where is some places that
our ultimate sale was Mentawai.
Nice.
A-Frames Island.
Nice.
So I got a call from a guy, and he said, I ran across International Surf Properties, and he goes, I've had my island on the market, and I was in escrow or you know, under contract with New Zealand guys, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, it just fell out. And he goes, I just ran across your site.
Oh,
goes, I want you to list it. Oh yeah, timing's everything,
amazing, right? Yeah.
And I said, where is it? He goes, well, it's A-Frames Island. It's right in front of Kandui Villas.
Bummer.
So they look right at it, and it's uninhabited.
The island itself.
The island
it's
itself.
a little like atoll almost.
Yeah,
it's small.
It's an island. You know, it's
small.
I think it's like 25 acres, something like that.
You can walk around it.
Yeah, you can walk around it.
It's like Tavarua.
So yeah, it's a beautiful place, and there's a wave, you know, right there, right? A-Frames wave, right? So right in the left, come around it. This would have been about 3 years ago.
And what was that for sale for?
That was fell for $1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million. You could own this island, right?
Shut up.
You know, and then you have to go and get the stuff. And as a foreigner,
there was nothing there.
Nothing there.
Oh, he didn't have a building.
There was no infrastructure.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the story gets more interesting.
Damn.
So
you just buy the island for $1 million.
$1 million. So what I should have done is called a few investors, but I ended up putting it out on my newsletter, right? Tell my things. Well, our friend Ryan Atkins, who's from San Clemente, California, calls me up and he goes, I'm at Candui Villas looking at A-Frames Island right now.
Oh,
this
my
was
God.
after we put up the listing for maybe 5-6 days. And he goes, I want to buy it. And so then he calls me up later that day, right? So we're on the upsides of the world. So, it's my nighttime, his daytime. And he goes, oh, I heard they call it Snake Island. I don't want it because there's so many snakes on there.
Ah,
And so I go,
I don't
really?
want that either.
Yeah, no, he wants a
Scares me.
Snake Island,
No,
right?
I-
I go, but wait a second. You're looking at the island. Go out to the island. Tell me how many snakes you see. So you'll probably get bit because there's so many snakes you can't buy the island.
Oh my
So
God.
he goes out there, calls me the next day, my night, right? And he goes, yeah, I think I saw one snake on the whole island. We walked the whole island. I go,
Okay, well,
okay. So we started to
Not
realize.
as bad as it sounds. There might be seasons,
Anyways, it's a snake.
Did you
right?
buy the island?
So anyway, no. Here's the thing.
Ryan.
Right.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
I know, and he's a great guy.
He's a great guy,
So
yeah.
anyway, so we start to realize, well, locals want to protect. They don't want you buying that
Of course,
island.
so they
sitting
put it out there.
They put it out there,
Snake
and next
Island.
thing, yeah, Snake
Everyone's
Island,
like,
yeah, Snake Island. And then it was, oh yeah, the locals burned down
Anything that's built.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And the locals owed money on that. So it just kept coming. So after about 3 or 4 days of all these things, because he's
All the
talking to the
gossip,
locals,
yeah.
right? He goes, I want it.
Cool.
So we've set up the contract and this and that, and they kept drilling him on why he should not buy the island, why he shouldn't buy the island. But we had a contract, but there no deposit had been sent yet, right?
Okay.
And so he cancels the contract. And then 3 days later he goes, I don't want to cancel the contract. I think it's a good buy. And I go, sorry, it's too late. Somebody else already put a contract in. So
Nice.
unfortunately for Ryan, he didn't get the island. We did sell it to somebody else, but that was a 2-week process because it was such an amazing thing. But we had the marketing means to get it out to the right
Yes,
people,
yes.
surfers with money.
Yes.
And so it was so.
Which is the
that was
journey
the
of
most
international surf properties,
It
is to actually elevate to the kind of people that have the kind of dollars to go, yeah, give me that $1 million island. I'll fart that
$1 million?
money out there. There's the check, chief.
It's a condo in San
It's
Clemente.
inc-
It's nothing.
Crazy. But
Yeah.
then, so that was 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Has it been developed since, do you know?
No.
It's still
It's
a
still
bunch of
sitting,
snakes
yeah.
running around.
Well, no, you got it's a bunch of snakes, but people still enjoy it, and the owner probably enjoys it.
How do they enjoy it?
Well,
They
you
don't have
go-
any infrastructure?
No, not yet, but they will.
They just put a
They
tent
have to
up
go
and-
through that. They have to, yeah. And there's already been tents there. People go out there and harvest the coconuts. You know what I mean? So it's not like.
Well, no, you can because it's no one on it. I mean, it's still
Well, the
wide
locals,
open.
yeah, the locals.
Yeah, they know.
So they actually worked it out
That's-
with the seller, who
Yeah, to
who
go, hey,
became
we're
my
going to go
friend.
get some coconuts.
Yeah, and so they'd give them the pass to go get the coconuts.
And it's probably a pretty smart thing to do because if you tell the locals before you've built anything that you can't get to coconuts, they're going to be not your friend.
So, and that leads me to Costa Rica.
Nice.
There's a buffer zone, right, 50 meters, and that became zona publica,
Okay.
right?
Kind
So
of like
that
they do in
locals-
Mexico kind of thing?
It's very
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Fidel
yeah.
Camiso,
Yeah,
zona
same
publica.
kind of
So they have,
similar.
yeah, a lot of these countries have those laws to either give locals access. A lot of it was done in World War II era. They didn't want other armies coming on
Sure.
their beaches. They didn't want to sell it.
Sure.
And so,
Cool.
yeah, so you have to learn, and we had to learn
The
all
law
these
of the
different
land, yeah.
laws of the land,
Yeah.
right? And I always heard about Fidel Camiso because Mexico's an hour away. It's right there. So I always knew that there's a way. It's a bank trust,
Yeah.
which is different than the concession you have in Costa Rica and Nicaragua. So anyway, so we had to learn all these
great stuff
local
to
laws.
learn.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
stuff
it was
to
fun.
learn,
It's been
yeah.
been
Great
a fun
journey.
ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now what's tell me, okay, so how many countries have you, we talked about this earlier.
We've sold in 10 countries.
What 10?
What 10? So you got Nicaragua, Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, Indonesia, Dominican Republic, Portugal, not in Spain.
Anything on the Canaries?
No, nothing on the
Okay.
Canaries.
Anything out in like say Cape Verde, some really far away places?
Yeah,
like Cape
no,
Verde?
no.
Anything in Brazil like Caila de la
Yes,
Noronha?
we sold a condominium in Brazil. So that's
Cool.
number 9.
Okay, there's Brazil.
Keep coming. No.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like anything in other continents, like anywhere in South Africa?
We have listings in South Africa. We have not
Nothing
sold
yet.
anything
Okay.
in South Africa.
Anything in Africa on that continent?
Yeah, so South Africa is primarily what we're selling.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, my gosh, and you wouldn't believe the prices in South Africa today.
Good or bad?
$160,000 for a beachfront in Jeffreys Bay.
once again, I feel the pain. Okay,
It
so
is.
yeah, that's crazy. Is that because the rand is 11?
Yeah,
or
well,
7
the
or
rand
what? Yeah, what is it?
is real low. I don't know
Yeah,
what
it's
it
like,
is
you know,
today.
but yeah,
it,
but-
it fluctuates, but I think it was 8. I think it was 8 when we started
So 100
selling.
that would be $1 million of rand, but it's only 160.
Oh yeah, you see
ours,
these
know?
prices. It's 1.6 million, and you
you're
look
like,
at it, you're like, what's
that's only 200 grand,
180,000?
yeah.
It's like
Interesting.
200,000. So
Interesting.
so a lot of properties worth that 200,000.
Have you
mark.
been to South Africa?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I've not been to a lot of places where we've
Okay.
sold property, which is interesting because I want to go. But
Really?
we did have
So you
COVID.
sold properties in places where you never were on that continent
No.
or country.
Unfortunately, not.
Portugal.
Portugal.
Have you
yeah.
been there?
No,
Interesting, because that's a place I'm real interested to go.
I haven't been to Indonesia.
Ever?
Never.
Oh.
Been to Samoa.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know you went there, yeah.
we had a couple listings come through in Samoa. We had some Chopu. We had some listings come in
Chops?
Chopu. Yeah,
Okay.
right there.
Wow.
Little locals property.
I've been
know-
looking at properties in Montreal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
that's my dream, is to live in Montreal, and I'm also looking at properties in Sardinia.
Ooh, nice. Sardinia's beautiful.
My dream is to have something in Sardinia and Sicily, maybe. I have a friend that bought a house in Sicily. His family is Sicilian, but he's from here. And he literally bought a fixer-upper with an ocean, it's not a huge ocean view, but it's up on the hill for $37,000. It's a 3-bedroom, okay?
$37,000.
Yeah, and he fixed it up for another 40, and for 80, he's got a full-on, turned one room into, it's a 4-bedroom now with whatever. I'm just saying, so I've been looking at, and I said, hey, for 100 grand, can I get something nice over there? And he goes, dude, absolutely.
Living
I'm
like
just
a
blown
king.
away by that. I'm like, here we sit where, 1.2 can't get you half of, just wow. Okay.
Wow.
And then you can go places like that. Still, I saw a house in Maria for 610 that was blowing my mind for 610. I can't get anything here for 610. So I'm just saying, like, we're looking at a couple of spots we'd like to expatriate, at least to be there part of the year. Obviously, I want to do with what I'm doing with my brand here in America, but
Yeah, you
I'm
always
trying
need that connection,
You know that we've
but-
talked a lot when I see you always about my interest in travel, living abroad. I've lived abroad. So to me personally, when I found out what you were doing with International Surf Properties, I was like, man, really intriguing, because of my dreams. I've always traveled. When I had nothing, I was hitchhiking. I was
Sure.
just whatever. I've always just traveled. And moved to Hawaii young and ended up going all over the Caribbean and living in the Caribbean and traveling a ton. And just so to be, I really do watch, and I know you know about this network, I watch all those international house hunter
hunters.
shows. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
beach
really
house
care about the
hunters.
one in the States so much. Buying a house in Alabama
But they've
doesn't
got
interest me.
the beach house hunter. They've
Oh
got
my
the
God!
they
Like,
got
it's
some
an
great
incredible stuff. I've learned so much. It's like when I watched Shark Tank. I just learned so much. So to watch a travel show that's based around real estate, either renting or buying, is just mind warping to me. So here you are in your life doing this company, International Surf Properties, that I feel like is just absolutely living the dream in terms of, obviously you want to make good money doing that, but just the work itself, it's pretty cool stuff. I mean, I don't
For
have
me,
to
it's
tell
a
you,
lifestyle.
but yeah,
I mean, it's a lifestyle.
incredible.
So, we haven't talked yet. I was able to buy a hotel in Nicaragua.
Where in Nicaragua?
Nicaragua, Popoyo.
Popoyo, okay.
Yeah,
I've
it
been
was-
there.
It was over
Yeah.
50 acres. It had 20 rooms, 2 pools,
Come on.
2 bars, a restaurant,
Where
a
in
yoga
Popoyo
pavilion.
is in
So it's
relation to the
actually
break?
Guasacate.
Oh, okay.
So it's just to the north.
Just north of there, yeah.
But from our
You can still see
our
it.
property, we could see Guasacate. We could see the hill coming down to Popoyo.
Yeah.
Right, and Popoyo is always breaking.
It's just-
it's
like
like
T
it's
Street.
like T
It's
Street.
weird.
That's
It's
exactly what I call it.
it's-
But what's
But it's way better than
T Street?
T Street.
It's offshore.
Every day.
I mean, it's like I'd be
incredible.
working all morning and I'm not really thinking much about the waves. It'd be like 2 p.m. Here, you'd have to look at the wind and this. and
Yeah,
that.
you have to be out there by
you
10
knew
or
it
it's
was
blowing out
offshore
all day long.
and you knew it was at least 2-3 little bump out there
I
at
know,
Popoyo.
you're always going to get to surf, and the water's warm.
Yep.
And people are reasonably friendly there, I feel like. When I was in
They're
Nicaragua.
very friendly,
You know,
very
it
friendly.
felt friendly. It didn't feel overly friendly, but it didn't feel underly friendly. I felt there was almost like a neutrality. I didn't feel like, those places where you go, like, I don't want to mention where they are, but you go to certain places and you feel like, as a Californian, for
It's a vibe.
instance,
They don't know you. They don't want
they just
you in
aren't,
the water.
they're kind of
Yeah.
generally racist toward you in a sense. Like, obviously when I first moved to Hawaii, that was gnarly. I started going there when I was 12, but when I moved there in the end of the 70s, and I moved to Maui, and I lived in, on the Paia side, Ho'okipa
I also
side.
lived in Maui.
Ooh, I mean, there was so
I was
many
glad
street
I had a
thugs.
good tan.
damn, so many street thugs that wanted a piece of me, and it was
Oh,
like,
sure, especially because you were, and you had that look like want to take him
they
down.
want to deal with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I made friends of all of them. But it was just that thing that you felt like, they just don't like me just because they don't even know me.
No, they don't know you.
I hate that.
You're the wrong
so
color.
it's like,
you're Howie.
I dealt with that a lot.
Yeah.
And then going to other places, I found certain times, like even when I went to Australia, I noticed they have a generalized, at the time, I mean, this was a long time ago, they had kind of this thing about Yanks, and they called us Seppos and Yanks and all that. And they have this attitude and stuff. And I'd always be like, well, I'm not really here with my flag up, bro. I mean, I'm just here to visit your country. I'm friends with your compatriots that come through my town. They all stay at my house.
Sure.
So if you guys want to be kooks, it's cool. We can do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I'm not really your enemy. So I don't know what you're tripping on. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, mate, it's all good. But I'm just saying, some places you got to deal with their generalized hate.
Of course.
Okay, so what I really like is, for instance, places where it's the opposite. And you go and they're pretty friendly. They don't have to love me. I mean, I don't want reverse racism any more than I want racism. With that said, I was in an island, Tobago, in the Caribbean. Spent a lot of time there. I love it. It's a gem. Trinidad and Tobago. But Tobago itself is just this gem. And I'm there and I'm meeting the locals. I'm hanging out and showing all the respect, and they're giving me respect back. It's all good. And I meet this local guy, really cool, like Terrence Trent D'Arby looking guy with kind of the dreads that aren't natty. Like they're just like Brady dreads, real clean.
I know the look.
It's a really clean, really good-looking man, black man, just really well-spoken. And he talked to me about how he went to Germany every summer. And I was like, looking at him, just thinking about his whole look and appeal. And I kind of intuitively went, oh, you must do pretty well in Germany. And I meant kind of in a sense socially, right? And he said, yeah, there's a certain, I'm different there. But they don't hate me, And so then he said, but at a certain point, it's like kind of like reverse racism. And at that point, I wasn't clear with that term. And I said, what is that? And he goes, racism is when you go somewhere that hates you already because they don't even know you. They just hate you. He goes, but reverse racism is where they love you and they don't even know you. And he goes, well, that might sound cool. Okay, it's definitely better than them hating you. Okay, it's like you become kind of their trophy friend or your trophy boyfriend. Like, yeah, girls thought he was all exotic and different. But he goes, I realized one day they don't really like me.
I saw that in Japan.
They just don't like me. They just like, I'm different.
Yeah, the figure
I'm
of
like
you.
a trophy to them, and they don't even know me. So in a way, it feels empty because they're not really attracted to me. And I looked at him and I said, I'm extremely respecting your depth as a man. That's really cool that you're not there just to capitalize on that. You kind of feel the lack of soulfulness in the fact that they don't really connect with you as a person, right? So anyway, to switch that, you felt something like that in Japan?
Oh, it was hilarious. So we came in middle of winter in Tokyo, the Roppongi district. We come in with sandals and shorts.
Who's we?
Oh, it was me, my brother-in-law,
okay,
and his buddy, right,
okay,
from Palos Verdes, right?
Okay.
So we go in there, and because of how we were dressed, and they were pretty big guys, so everybody's a little smaller.
Yeah, because they're small in
they're
Japan.
smaller, right? So they come in and they just look at us, and immediately the drinks start coming.
Crazy.
And so we realized the power we had, and that they were watching us. So our dancing got pretty funny. It's like we do this, and we see everybody go, and we do this, and they'd all do that, and whatever we did, they would
Japanese
do it, and it was like
so respectful, and
they're so respectful, and then it got a little bad because these guys were big, right? We're talking
large
6'2",
men,
large men, and they didn't wait for buses. There'd be a line, everybody be nice. Oh, we're gonna wait to get a line, and they go right in front of everybody. It's like I didn't really appreciate that.
No.
But boy,
that's
literally, it'd go down the street, the sidewalk, and you just see peel. They're just like separate because two big guys coming down.
So wild. How long ago was this?
It was a long time ago. It was when the internet was just coming out, and my cousin started an internet company in Tokyo. So it was like 96, 97.
Oh, it's been 30 years. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. It was very early
Yeah.
when the internet was just coming out.
Yeah. It's like how Tahiti's changed. I went to Tahiti the first time in 98, 97, 98, right in there. And you know how innocent it was then. And then, it's changed a little bit. I mean, there's different things that have gone on to bring it a little more closer to the way the Hawaiians feel, kind of like. But initially, the vibe in Tahiti was so the real meaning of aloha. I mean, it was real aloha.
Everybody loved
aloha. Just true. Like, you have to struggle hard in Hawaii to get
to find that. You got to get
unless you go to the
people.
luau.
Sure.
Just saying,
Here's your Mai Tai. We love you.
Yeah, but if you're out in Paia, it's
exactly.
like, right. you know, they're just, okay, so in Tahiti, I felt like, wow, so much love. I just felt that. And then over a period of time, as I went back and back, yeah, I feel like I noticed the degradation of, you know, whatever. I feel like the same thing when I first went to Puerto Rico was in the, you know, that was 88. So moving on, you know, it's moving, whatever. It's a lot of years. And they didn't even surf. There was like no one at Waves. We would pull up with Gary Branham, who's a legend in Puerto Rico. And he was, you know, my guy first connected. Well, Nick Knezovich that I knew from here, but then he was the manager at the Chart House. And then Gary Branham worked for him. But when you look at originally Puerto Rico back in the day and you see postcards of Puerto Rico, inevitably it's a picture of Gary Branham surfing. Nice. He's a legend in Puerto Rico anyways. And still alive today. He's on my, you know, we talk on Facebook or whatever, but we'd pull us up to breaks and we would just be looking at the quality of these blue, just what's going on? There's like
watercolor.
No one in the water, like not a person in the water. Wilderness, wishing wells, this place called Tennis Shoe Reef, Aguadilla, Aguada. Rincon had a couple guys, you know, but we would surf Dogmans, this insane wave. Like no one out or 2 or 3 guys. It was like, wow, is this real? That's when I first went with Mark Shira and Don Crummer. We went the first time. Mark Shira's been there ever since. And but now you go back and there's like boogie boarder gangs and the whole thing's changed. Sure. A lot of people surfing or whatever. I'm not saying it's a negative place. Okay, I have really good friends from there.
Different.
It's just really shifted in time. We could come all the way back to our roots here in San Clemente and say, wow. Because really what we talk about is like the guys in Hawaii get pissed because you live on the North Shore and it's just so affected by economy. I mean, they can't afford a house in their own beach, okay? And the vibe of all these rich people that have moved in. But they get pissed. And I want to kind of have that communicate with people like that. Sometimes go, hey, you guys aren't the only ones, man. Where I'm from, where we're from, that happened here big time. I mean, this place shifted in the last 30 years from what it was to what it is and whatever. Everyone's got a right to live here. It's a free country, right? But it did shift. Socially, it's a big shift. So in a sense, to bring it to full spectrum about our talk with international surf properties, and then I'll ask you where that's led you. I know you got a great story for me with that, but where do we go from here in a sense? You know, like it's always been interesting to me what the world looked like then, where I could go to so many places when I was younger and travel and just end off going to so many awesome places. A lot of places are extremely discovered now.
It was a lot more innocence.
A lot more innocence,
because you were discovering places that maybe had been visited by just a couple of people.
Oh my gosh!
Or maybe not visited by anybody at all.
Wow!
So we lived
before the internet.
We lived, but the internet. Well, I remember our mutual friend Dave Sweedler. You know, he said it was when the selfie came out, and all these places, you know, they used to go to the waterfalls, the end of the road places. People started going selfie, 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 and then next thing there was 100 people there. You know, and so
where is that going? By the way,
he ended up moving to Thailand because he said just the ride from Lahaina to Kahului was insane. A 2-3 hour drive.
Stupid,
it's stupid, right? And so, I don't think we'll ever get back to the innocence. There's still places in the world that you can find and have certain amount of serenity.
More and more, there's less of those.
There's less of those, but
where would you say those would be?
So
not that we're trying to blow them up, but like where would be the virgin places left for you and your business?
Even in portions of Costa Rica. There's I mean, you go to Tamarindo, it's packed. You go to certain
the Caribbean
areas,
side?
No, I'm talking on the Pacific side because I didn't spend that much time in the Caribbean, but I did live in Costa Rica for 4 years.
Like, my friend lives in a town. It's a yoga town. Is it like Samara or something? Like what is that?
I'm sorry, yeah, Samara.
Samar. What's that one right there? But anyway, I heard that's still kind of.
Yeah, it's still, but
dirt road.
Yeah. But over there in the Blue Zone in the Nicoya Peninsula,
up in the Nicoya,
that's changed a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just groups of people that discover this beautiful place, and it's like, okay, we're gonna make money off this beautiful place.
Right.
And so they have the yoga. Yeah, they have the yoga hotels.
Yeah,
and
that's what they do at the town I was telling you.
Yeah,
full yoga town.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it does change a place, and then money comes in. And then
shifts.
Prices go up, and then
locals, it's like the thing is they get jobs maybe, but then again it goes up so much they can't afford to live there, but they got jobs. So everyone tries to sell the dream on, well, we'll bring you jobs.
So we didn't want to do that. It was kind of our philosophy when we started International Surf Properties to see if we can make a positive effect on an area. So there was one that's called the Ranch, right? It's just it's in Zihuatanejo.
Oh, the one you've told me about.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So there really wasn't much there
around it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's this pretty pristine place. You know, Saladito was to the south, and you had more houses, and they had kind of some unfiltered development there. But the Ranch, we knew the main developer there, and we told them, look, keep this place special, keep the lots bigger, don't put 1 million restaurants on the thing.
Yeah.
And he said yes, 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 and then he saw money, 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 and then all of a sudden the lots got smaller and smaller,
Prices got bigger.
and then you talk about 500 square meter lots.
Humans are such a trip, man.
They are.
Such a trip.
They are.
But in a way, it comes back all the way to the most primal instinct we have. We're hunters trying to feed our family, and that's just a hunter of a man.
We do understand.
It's called market value. I mean, if you can get more, who says no?
Yeah.
Because they don't do it for the
I can't
collective.
judge anybody.
Exactly. We're trying to make a living.
But we did try to make a positive impact on that, and we tried to work with the main developer in that area, and it just at the end
How
of the day,
did the ranch go?
It's just the lots got smaller in a certain area. I mean, it's still there. It's still there's no
How many
real
houses
stores.
are on the ranch now?
Well, I mean, the ranch is Palo Alto. It's Rancho Del Mar. It's
no,
the
I meant
ranch.
that one development. That
So the ranch, on the beach.
Yeah, that
There's
one, yeah.
no real houses yet. You have some
Oh,
palapa
I thought
structures.
there
and
was. I
stuff.
thought I saw a video of a couple of houses there.
They're building them.
Okay.
They're starting to move in, but up on the hill, just above the
up on
ranch,
the hill,
which
yeah.
is still the ranch.
Sure.
There's 20 houses.
Oh,
up there.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what you're thinking.
Get a better price up on the hill than down at the
Yeah,
beach?
because they're smaller lots and you're
Yeah.
not right on the break.
Yeah, and you're up
I mean,
on
from
I like
from
being up on the hill.
Yeah.
I like the breeze.
You got
and
the
I like
breeze,
the view.
and you don't have the
people,
water
you know,
influx.
Yes,
think
the
about high
potential
tides.
for yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like a lot about the hill. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to look at those things because it
That's
can
really cool.
affect the water movement
It's
on your
really,
property.
really, really inspiring to just get inside under the hood. I like to think for my show here on Talk to the Doctor. It's like I really like the idea to get under the hood. So when I talked to you before a few times about what you're doing with that, it's been a great kind of window into your world and seeing how you see the world through that. Like I see the world through House Hunters International, for instance. This is a personal story. It's really cool. So where has that led you from that? I think you have a new project. Am I right to assume?
I do have a new project. So, seeing the International Surf Properties brand has got a lot of eyes looking this way. And I remembered there was going to be a surfing wave, a wave pool in San Clemente. I don't know if you remember that. It was going to be on Pico.
I vaguely remember
park
hearing
is.
about that. It seems
So
strange to me,
anyways,
but yeah.
so this was my glimpse at the surf pool market.
Okay.
And it was Roy Gonzalez that
I
introduced me
remember
to
that.
the group
Yeah,
that was doing it,
They're doing
right?
it, yes.
Yeah, and so I was thinking, so I was starting to look at raising money for this, that.
Yes.
Thank goodness I didn't because it was a group of guys that, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to the money. But
A nefarious group of individuals.
So in that process, when I started to work with them, I was at the International Surf Properties, we had the opportunity to buy a resort in Nicaragua. So I didn't really get to touch on that, but I'm going to quickly go there, and we can expand on it some other time. But a listing came on our website at 4.2 million. It was 50 plus acres, 20 rooms, 2 bars,
Wow.
2 pools, a yoga pavilion. It was just amazing, right? And 40 lots still to sell.
This is the one in Nicaragua?
This one in Nicaragua,
At Guasacate?
at Guasacate, Popoyo. And so we saw it, 4.2. I'm talking to the seller, the owner, right? 3.8, 3.2. And it's just going down the thing. And so it went all the way down to 1.2 because he'd sold his other business on the East Coast. And he goes, I really want to get rid of this at 1.2. I go, really? He goes, yeah, 1.2. And I'll carry paper.
Shut up. So it went from 4.2
to 1.2.
Imagine I'm having a talk show and I tell my guest to shut up, but I didn't really mean that literally. But my point is
Stop banging the table.
please, I'm doing it too. 4.2 drops to 1.2?
Yeah, over an 8-month period.
I know, but that's a good 8
He was
months.
motivated.
That's a good 8
He
months.
was motivated.
Oh my God.
And so
was that also to do with the situation in the country at the time with
nothing to do with
Ortega
the
and all that?
country. Had nothing to do with the country. No, no.
Because that had to have an effect on things.
he
right?
did not want to run a hotel. So they kind of made
it's
it
a lot of work.
They made it as a private surf and fish club. That's what it was originally built for. But it became, it's like what men do, right? Or men or women. They get the idea. It's like, okay, well, I can put a house. I can cut up all these lots. Now I've got 120 lots. Oh, and I might as well add this pool over here because one pool's not enough. 2 pools is better. So anyways, it just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Amazing.
And he really never wanted to run a hotel. So it was never really run right. And the stories about that hotel are pretty funny.
Okay.
Just mismanagement,
Sure.
this, that. So
Well, of course, it's
so
in the middle of
1.2.
nowhere. I mean,
So
come on.
1.2,
Not
and he
freaking
would carry paper.
Ritz-Carlton.
And,
You know.
and he would carry paper. I'm like, okay, hold on, let me make a call. So I called 2 people.
And they said, here's a down
dude,
payment.
So here's a down payment. And so I had 3 partners at the time. And then we get on the phone call. It's like, okay, who's going to run it? I'm like,
Not me.
I didn't say that. I'm like, you guys don't, nobody wants to get down there? And I'm like, well, I own a bar and grill.
I know, but you're also running a brand.
Yes,
that,
I
you
want
know,
a band, but I figured what
That could be your
better,
base camp?
what better than to live the
one of the
dream we
properties.
were selling,
Yeah, I like
right?
it.
And so we'd sell out of there.
As my friend Matt Hamilton would say, I hear you knocking.
Yeah, we were knocking.
I hear you knocking. That's
we were
really
knocking.
Cool. So
And
you got that property.
So we got that property, and so my girlfriend at the time, I looked at her and said, "Hey, you want to move to Nicaragua and run a hotel?" She's like, "Sure." I go, "You're a keeper." I married her. I go, "You're a good one."
That's a big one.
So we went down there and we took it over, and we realized, you know a little more Spanish, but we got through it. And so we ran it, and what was great is, the sales were totally muted. There wasn't really much going on, but when you're on the ground, it's like, well, let's have a sip and paint night.
Sure.
So Liz started doing all these
marketing,
all these local events, and then I started thinking bigger. Let's bring down surf groups. Let's bring down bands. Let's bring down church groups, yoga groups, whatever, right?
Marketing concepts. Yeah.
All marketing concepts, but who doesn't want to go to this beautiful hotel right above the ocean?
And you paid their way and everything?
Oh, so we had different
deals for different
deals for different
situations,
things.
yeah.
But we brought down tunnel
Archie.
vision.
Oh, tunnel vision,
Yeah,
right?
we brought down Archie.
Cool.
So what we did, we sold. I didn't want to zoo out any breaks. I didn't want to show up with like 10 guys. So I said, we're only going to have 4 surfers can buy onto each one of your weeks. He was going to go down for 2 weeks, and we sold out like that.
Cool.
These 4 guys, and they were all eras, all about my age, right? And they knew Archie, they knew his story, and Archie was amazing because he spent so much time just talking to him about stories.
Being personable.
Be totally personable. So he was a great person to have on this as be the center of their trip, and literally, guys had tears in their eyes after the week was over.
That's so
they
cool.
said this was the most incredible experience we've ever had.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
It's like, you get to go play tennis in a tennis camp with Agassi or something. I mean,
Exactly.
it's a pretty cool concept.
Exactly.
It's really cool.
And so Archie would surf with these guys and give them
that's
tips
insane.
and this and that. And,
Incredible.
And yeah,
Incredible
it was
concept.
incredible. So that then turned into tunnel vision. We brought tunnel vision down. We had Roy down there. It was his birthday. I think it was his 60th or something. And so we had tunnel vision, and all their followers came down, filled the hotel. And then we started putting out CDs and stuff out to the locals in Papoyo. So they started hear tunnel vision before the boys got down there, right? And then we did a concert. So I got all this footage and everything. So we did a concert right above the break at Papoyo on this wood deck. And so everybody heard on how amazing. So who didn't make it to that free concert then paid to come over to the resort, to our resort.
That's
and
incredible.
it was a blowout. We had 250
Do you still have
people.
this property?
I know we ended up selling it.
Okay.
And we sold it 2 months before COVID hit. 15 employees.
Love the timing.
Yes. So
Amazing.
we really thank God for that one.
Interesting.
So we got out, moved to Pavones, and there was all sorts of excitement down there. We had hooked up with a guy that had actually bought like 17 miles of coastline down there. But that was a crazy.
That's a whole nother venture.
That's a
Yeah,
whole
of
nother
course
adventure.
we know you ran into Sean McGon down there.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
His
family,
the king.
Leilani, and their son. God, what's their son's name?
I'll think of it in a second.
Yeah, but he's
a ripper.
and she's ripping too.
No,
she's
they're
winning.
both.
She's
the
winning
kids.
right now.
Oh, yeah,
she's been winning.
and
she's doing good. She probably make the CT. I think did she make the CT? She might have made it one year.
She made it. Yeah.
But
she made
now
it last year.
Okay, so she's on this year.
I think so.
Yeah, good for her. Yeah. And then of course here with our girl, okay, we've got a Sawyer Lindblad made Rookie of the Year last year. Both Rookies of the Year, proudly San Clementians as we are. We have both Rookies of the Year last year on the CT were from San Clemente. Crosby Colapinto, Rookie of the Year in the men's. Sawyer Lindblad, Rookie of the Year in the girls, women's. Just such a proud moment. We have so much, our history in this town is so amazing.
Talent that comes out of San Clemente is unmatched.
It's crazy.
It's like we should have got the Surf City USA moniker, not them. We had both Surfer Magazine and Surfing Magazine here.
Sure, we had everything, but what the cool thing is, let them have that name.
Oh yeah,
because we're actually really not a city. We're actually
we're not
more
commercial.
of a little cool little town. We're not like a. They can have it. They want it. They got it. That's fine.
I agree.
Have your little walk of fame and all that's cool or whatever. But we got 4-point breaks, reef breaks, beach breaks. I mean, you go to Huntington. Nothing against Huntington because they really do have good waves.
They do.
They got juicy,
all sand,
peaky, rad waves, but they don't have a point. They don't have a reef. They
No
got
variety.
all beach break,
No
and it's
variety.
good beach break. I mean, I like surfing Huntington. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like, back when I did my article with San Clemente and the whole thing in Water Magazine, I really felt like this feeling of like, yeah,
It's a special place.
It's a special
We've
place.
talked about San Clemente
It's
and
so
how
special.
special it is.
So special.
I wanted to see that documentary. I wanted to see the book. I think you talked about writing at one point. I mean, San Clemente is a special place. We
really
had Surfing Magazine here. Clark Foam pretty much came from here.
Yeah.
Hobie Alter. They all.
It's
there's
just
so much.
huge history here.
Yeah,
with
the
everything.
Fletcher dynasty.
Photographers, filmmakers, media magnates, just everyone, surfers.
yeah.
I mean, and this is a little. I'll just throw you this trivia. So far in the history of our sport and lifestyle, we've never had now outside of longboarding, but we've never had a world tour world champion. Do you agree with that?
No, we had a world champion in the 60s.
So that's the thing that no one else knew except for you. It wasn't in the 60s. It was in the early 70s.
Okay.
We did have one, but it was before it was the
thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it wasn't, the first year
wasn't
was PT.
sanctioned. Yeah.
It was in, I believe, 1972. He lived right across the way. And do you know who that is?
I can't remember right now.
Rolf Arness.
Rolf Arness.
Rolf Arness was a 1972 world champion. Not much in the big picture, because our sport didn't begin producing world
But you
tour.
remember that classic picture of Rolf doing the arch bottom turn? I think that was Trestles.
Yeah, he's, it's amazing. And I just got to say, so that little trivia, I always get people on because no one realizes we actually do have one, even though it's, we had Rolf Arness, whose dad was James Arness of Gunsmoke fame, the lead actor on Gunsmoke. So a pretty cool story. But San Clemente's been crushing it from day one till today, and it probably always will. But sometimes the way I see the waves are here, because they're not as good as they used to be, I feel, is that I'm not the only one. I think we've all.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, it's pretty, But somehow we keep producing this talent. It's like when Slater came out of Florida and people were like, how did that happen? Well, he was going to Barbados all the time. And he was going to the Caribbean and he was traveling. And so our surfers are smart. They get on the program and they're not just surfing T Street or uppers or lows. They're all over. They're doing a thing. So we got all this underwhelming of talent right now. Kolohe has his brand that he's sponsoring these kids that are coming up that are blowing minds.
Multi-generational.
It's incredible. I mean, the kids that sponsors, the Kolohe sponsoring now, we just keep producing talent, but also we nurture that talent here. Because this is like it's like coming from Aspen and, you're obviously going to probably be a skier or a snowboarder. It's just going to be nurtured into your lifestyle.
Just part of the.
You come from San Clemente and you don't surf.
Part of
That's
the brand.
kind of, what's going on. So anyway, but tell me a little bit about the newest project.
So the newest project is wave pools. I had mentioned, seeing it almost popping up here in San Clemente on Avenida Pico, and then I went down to Pavones, and then when I got back, a guy that had videotaped. I used to do a motorized surfboard. I think you wrote it, the Power Ski Jetboard, the yellow thing. Quite a rush.
We have footage of the first day I ever rode one with Danielle, and it was so
Let's
fun.
roll that.
So
it was
fun
crazy, and you're like
such a workout.
Yeah, you were just all buff. Yeah, exactly.
I still think about it. That's such a good workout.
It was.
I remember coming off bottom terms, looking at you guys, going, "Oh my God, I'm getting such a good workout." It's
true,
insane.
man, because you grab,
you gotta hold it.
Hold it, and then you can literally go down and use your hand as a plane. So now you have all this pressure on this arm, and then you have to come out of it. So you're down, and you get tighter and tighter and tighter. And you just literally.
He's a pretty big guy.
He is, but one arm was twice as big as the other one.
That's true. But his form,
he was awesome.
Insane.
Like
he was
this
kind of big buck dude. And he'd do these bottom turns, and I go, whoa.
He had done the surf jet. He actually was Mr. Motorized Surfboard
100%,
guy,
yeah.
because he had done it the longest.
And the cool is when he got that in Waterworld. That's pretty amazing.
That was amazing. I got to go.
Yeah.
I met Kevin.
We
hung out with Kevin.
That's cool.
And a lot of stories from that
cool
experience.
Stuff, yeah.
But
so you got a wave. What's going on with the wave pool now?
So the wave pool, a guy called me up, and he had videotaped us with the jetboard 25 years earlier. This is the way it works, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes, "Let's meet at Fisherman's. I'm going to tell you about a new project." It was a wave pool. Right?
Okay.
And I go, "Well, who are you working with on this wave pool?" He goes, "Tony Finn." Finn. We did some shows with Tony. We used to do the opening for the offshore boat races in San Diego Harbor. We did the Miami Boat Show, and so I used to run into Tony all the time. And I go, "Well, I love Tony." So we got on the phone. He goes, "Oh yeah, I am selling this standing wave, the unit wave pool, and we have all these projects. And would you like to come and sell real estate around them? It's like, sure, this makes sense. So we sign an agreement there, and then his other partner kind of disappears, and he goes, well, come on in, let's develop them together. So now I started working directly with Tony and Darren. And our first project, we've got bids out on different places, but this one in Texas, in New Braunfels, Texas.
Where?
Was it
New Braunfels? Okay.
New Braunfels, Braunfels.
Okay.
And it's an old German town from the 1800s.
Okay.
And so you go to the restaurant.
Close by what city?
So you have Austin.
Oh, it's by Austin?
Yeah, you have Austin and San Antonio.
Okay.
We're right in the middle.
Okay.
So we're like,
cool.
We're like 40 miles to Austin and 37 miles to San Antonio.
Okay.
200,000 cars go by this place right on the I-35 every single day. 70 acres. It has a cable pull park. It's got an aqua park, you know, for the kids, slides and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's got a water ski lake, a fourth lake, and it's got all sorts of restaurants and things.
Right.
And so wild how we got a hold of this. We were bidding a project up in Anaheim, same thing, an aqua park.
Okay.
And he said, hey, my daughter's going to open an aqua park out in Texas, da-da-da. At the end of the summer, he goes, she doesn't want to run anymore. You guys want to buy an aqua park? It's like, well, I don't know. We call up the owners, who are good friends with Tony, and said, well, why don't you come in and run the whole thing and throw one of your waves here? Ding, 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 ding.
Interesting.
Flew out there, met him, shook hands. Great guy, great family business. And he says, okay, you're going to take it all over, put your wave here. And that's when we said, okay. And we wrote up the paperwork.
So what kind of technology as compared to, like, say, for the kind of wave pool technology that you, first of all, what's it called?
Everybody wants to know. So this is the Stoke Factory.
It's a wave pool called Stoke Factory?
The Stoke Factory.
Nice.
At Texas Ski Ranch.
Nice.
So Texas Ski Ranch is the existing 70 acres, right, facility, and we're bringing the Stoke to Texas. And this is the Stoke Factory.
Stoke Factory in
So
Texas.
we're going to drop our wave on an existing, it was like a smaller cable pull park, right?
Yeah.
So we're putting our wave there.
Surfing.
Got the bigger, surfing. So our technology is the unit standing wave, right?
Okay, so is that, have we seen, where could we see that technology today?
You can see it at, Rebel Beach, Cannon Beach out in Rebel Park, Cannon Beach in Mesa, Arizona. They just opened up. Shane Beshin was involved, right? And so they have two waves there. One is the unit wave. And so I'm going to quickly just say what a standing wave is versus a moving or dynamic wave.
You don't paddle in.
You just step off onto the wave, and it's coming at you like a rapid. You know, people are surfing rapids.
Like when they're surfing the river mouth at Waimea.
Exactly. Same thing.
That's cool.
Water's coming at you, you're leaning into it, and you're carving back and forth.
Cool.
I mean, it's literally an endless wave as long as you can physically handle
hold on to it.
So we're taking you back to the power ski jetboard days where you come. I mean, it's hard to stay on this longer than a couple minutes.
It's hard.
Because you're carving, and you want to keep going. You know, you don't want to stand there. But you got to slow down, stand there, get your breath, and then carve some more.
Yes.
It's an endless wave,
really
literally.
Classic, yeah.
So that's a great workout.
Really cool.
And then we want to build a dynamic wave. So we want Kelly Slater's waves, 200 million, you know, a little far beyond, you know, what our scope is.
That wave costs 200 million?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, when you put everything
But also
in,
I know it's very expensive to visit.
It's very expensive to run.
Yes, and but
yeah,
to visit,
so that's
you know,
why.
like
Well, that's why.
$10,000
So
a day or
they
whatever.
got to figure out that if it costs you 100,000 a day to run, you better be making 200,000.
Yeah.
whatever the numbers are exactly.
Yeah.
We love that wave. You see it. It's just amazing,
wave,
but it's not going to be available for everybody.
Right. It's
so
an
then you have
elitist
other,
kind of thing.
and then you have other.
It's
technology.
a rich man's wave.
It's a rich man's wave. But you have Wave Garden. You've got, you know, all different waves coming out.
There's a couple that popped up in Palm Springs, right? I hear about some that are going to Vegas. I know that Shane and they developed one on Oahu. I mean, I know they're popping up all over the place.
They are popping up all over the place. That's what's exciting. You know, it's like taking the place of the golf course communities.
Yeah.
Right? Build a golf course and then build the homes around it.
You know, it's like, to me, it's like a little bit of that combo of skate park. It's like a skate park or the golf course. You know, it's a weird hybrid model of.
It's a weird hybrid
it's a
model,
thing,
but
it's for surfing. So
you know, but you know, it's for me. I'd much rather get on a wave and work out than go to a gym.
Totally.
You know, I'll lift some weights and everything, but after a while, I want my headphones and all that stuff. Here I'm on water.
Totally.
So it's like, okay, you start getting that excitement of getting in shape, just carving and perfecting your technique.
What would it be? It's a great training principle. I mean, oh my God, what if it's an okay question to ask is like, what would startup cost be on Stoke Factory?
So Stoke Factory, the wave.
We said Slater's at 200 million.
Yeah. So the wave itself can go anywhere from like 1.7 million to 4 million, the
Okay.
wave, depending on how big,
yeah.
how big you're going to go. So pretty reasonable in general,
Okay,
because
yeah.
your golf course is going
Not
to cost
200 million, yeah.
Yeah, it's not 200 million, this and that, and you start to realize how much money you'll make not only in the wave, but
Oh, the
whatever's
merchandising
around
and
it.
everything, yeah.
Retail,
Yeah.
residential,
Yeah,
real
restaurants,
estate,
you know, yeah.
exactly. So that's the standing wave. Now we want to put another moving wave, and you're going to start around 10, 12 million
For
dollars
that,
for these.
to when you actually
And
move
it goes
on.
up.
Yeah.
When you start moving water, and it
like
gets
at
more like a serpent
like at El Paso or one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Waco.
Or Palm Springs, or I mean Waco. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, what would be the projected opening date?
So for this wave
For Stoke
at
Factory?
for Stoke Factory at Texas Ski Ranch, we're looking at July of 2025, this summer.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we've ordered it in Germany. It's going to
Wow.
be,
Cool.
assembled there, designed there, and then they'll ship
Cool.
it over in containers. And then it takes about 5 days to get it up. But we're going to do a big cement pad where it's going to sit on.
Sick.
Yeah.
Because I saw the first time I saw that technology, Shane was involved with the one in Munich, and they would always be showing videos of that technology,
Yeah.
the one at the airport in Munich, and I'd be like, "They're surfing in the airport in
And
Munich."
people having a beer right next to them. It's like, wow,
it
it's
just
so
looks really
interesting.
cool. So that was, he's one of my best friends, so I was always privy to that information, and it always went, wow, So then now the world is morphed since then into all these wave pools, and cool to hear you're involved with Stoke Factory. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Once again, it was
I
just like
mean,
a
how can you
dynamic-
be bummed about that? I mean,
I'm
the
not.
trajectory.
I'm not bummed. I'm ready to go ride it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So here's what I'd like to say. I love having you on the show. I think what we did is we touched on a lot of topics, but I really want you to come back. I know
Thank
we
you.
talked about you bringing Dave Sweedler back, so you get to talk about Sessions TV back in the day and other travel stories, because I really feel like we chatted
Yeah, we try to do the 10,000-foot view, but we can get down to a couple things, which I'd love to hear your stories as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. Awesome. Thanks for coming,
Thanks,
John.
brother.
Good to see you, man. Awesome. Okay, well, there wraps another episode of Talk to the Doctor. Check in or check out.